If you're doing something in the hope that it'll catch on and it doesn't catch on, how long should you keep doing it before you admit to yourself that it'll never catch on? If you can't convince your friends to help you out, maybe you really should throw in the towel. What do you think I am talking about? For March 18th, 2016, from the stylish high-tech underground studios of Ribbit Media in weirdly Seattle-like Cranston, Rhode Island, this is NewsUndies. For March 18th, 2016, this is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with these headlines. Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump called former candidate and current Trump hype man Chris Christie an absentee governor because of his participation in the race, but not as bad as John Kasich. Well, that's nice. Way to show your gratitude for the endorsement. And good that you can butter up the next guy to drop out of the race and kiss your ass. And Christie was skipping out on a state policeman's funeral to be there at Trump's campaign event, where Trump called him a deadbeat. That's just pure class. Mark Burns, a right-wing Christian pastor, while speaking at a Trump campaign event in Hickory, North Carolina, said of Bernie Sanders, an elderly secular Jew, Bernie Sanders, who doesn't believe in God, how in the world are we going to let Bernie, really? Bernie's got to get saved. Bernie got to meet Jesus. He's got to have a coming to Jesus meeting. Tell you what, Mark, might I suggest a shut the hell up and join us in reality meeting? And shame on the Trump campaign for everything it's ever done. And now we turn from Donald Trump to Isidore Heath Campbell, who, in 2008, blew up the internet by making a stink over having his son's full name printed on a birthday cake. The boy's name? Adolf Hitler Campbell. Well, now, Mr. Campbell is in custody for aggravated assault. In case you're wondering about his 9 children, don't worry. They have been removed from his and his wife's custody because insane! And in Squirrel news, Nikki Reed, the 27-year-old twice-married Twilight star, got to be the foster mom for a few orphaned baby squirrels. Aww. Us magazine gushed unapologetically over Reed's maternal instincts. Ew. Miami yacht races were never like this. Up next, bootlicking 101. What are you, chicken? And sociopath endorsed by sociopaths.
Your childhood. George Lucas. In 1977, George Lucas made your childhood. In 1997, George Lucas took your childhood away. In 1999, George Lucas made you watch as he bent your childhood over a stump. Now, George Lucas wants you to watch him violating your childhood in 3D. Finally, someone is here to stop George Lucas from defiling your childhood memories anymore. But we need your help. The Original Trilogy Restoration Alliance has been established to raise all the money necessary to distract George Lucas from thinking Star Wars needs to be revised again. Please, give generously. This is our most desperate hour. Help us save your memories. You're our only hope.
Ben Carson! Norovirus is normally no laughing matter. It can be fatal among the very young, the very old, and the immunocompromised. It can cause a variety of unpleasant symptoms, including nausea, vomiting, watery diarrhea, abdominal pain, and in some cases, loss of taste. Norovirus is typically spread person to person through direct contact with infected vomit or feces, or contact with aerosolized vomit or feces. Back on the 13th, Wright's Farm Restaurant, a legendary local eatery here in Rhode Island, became the apparent nexus point for an outbreak of 30 cases of norovirus. With more on this, here's me with a special on-the-scene report. On the 13th, a kid horked in the dining area of this restaurant, and approximately 30 other diners who were in the immediate area at the time of the horking also became miserable with the horking and the sharting, including members of nearby Bryant University's lacrosse team. So it's not bad enough they have to stand out in a field holding a stick with a little net on the end of it. Now they've also got watery diarrhea. Well, lucky them. The state health department is permitting the restaurant to remain open. However, the owners are keeping closed for the cleaning. Standing in front of a restaurant for some reason, I'm Paul Torville for NewsUndies. Thanks, me. And now it's time for the Obsolete Technology Report with Stephen Toupé.
This is the Obsolete Technology Report. I'm Stephen Toupé. Have you ever wanted to, say, compute something with your Atari instead of just playing games with it? Well, my guest today, Dan Bjornson, has a wonderful product to help us with just that sort of a thing. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Stephen.
What have you got for us today?
I have an Atari 800XL home computer.
Home computer.
A home computer.
So it computes your home?
Not quite. So, whereas some people use computers for business, this computer is designed primarily for the home user.
Wow. So what would a home user use a computer for?
If the home user runs a business, they could use the computer for that business.
At home?
At home.
So they could use their home computer at home for their business at home?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's confusing.
Only a little.
That's fantastic. So what else could a home computer user using the computer at home for their business at home use this computer for?
They could use this computer for games at home when they're not doing business.
Wow. So it does business and games.
Yes.
That's remarkable. Now, what is this thing on the front here?
This is a keyboard. So using the keyboard, your fingers can tell the computer different things.
Like, for instance, my dog has to pee.
Well, kind of, but not quite. More like put a T into the screen.
Wow, a T.
A T or an S.
Wow, S's and T's.
And A.
Wow. If I didn't know better, I'd say the entire alphabet is represented there.
You're right. It is.
Wow, that's great. So, if you put an S or a T by pressing, can I press it?
Sure.
If I press T, now what happens?
Now the computer says, the user pressed the T key. Let me display a T on the TV that I'm hooked up to.
Oh, so this doesn't, you need to have a TV to use this.
You don't need to, but it helps a lot.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, okay, you've pressed T. Now, how does this calculate, for example, the ballistic missile trajectory of your nuclear warhead?
It doesn't unless you put a nuclear warhead trajectory computer cartridge in this slot right here. And you see there's a dust cover so that dust doesn't get in there and make it dirty. And then you might have to clean it with a duster.
Wow. That's great. So where can our viewers get one of these, Dan?
The local thrift store or dumpster.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
That's your Obsolete Technology Report. I'm Stephen Toupee. If you were an adult when 9/11 happened, you probably remember a lot of talk about connecting the dots, as though if only our leaders could have seen all the disparate pieces of information, they could have formed a picture of what was being planned and found a way to stop it. With Donald Trump's recent announcement that he would change libel laws to permit him to sue journalists, really, how many more dots do you need to draw that little black patch between his nose and his mouth? Here are Pig and Sheep with their thoughts.
I don't get it. What was the question now? How many dots do I need? Well, if they're Dippin Dots, then all of them, because I love me some Dippin Dots. It's the ice cream of the future, you know? Dippin Dots, yeah! I'm pretty sure I have all the dots I need, and I'm pretty sure his supporters are dot blind. It doesn't matter what Trump does or says. To some, he might as well be the Pope or Jesus. He can do no wrong. And anyone who says otherwise is just a terrible person who doesn't properly embrace their terribleness or something. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh yeah, Donald Trump is what Jim Jones could have been if he'd had just a little more discipline and a little less psychosis. And no amount of dots is going to make that clear to his followers.
That's what Pig and Sheep think. What are your thoughts? Email them to ovcomments@newsundies.com.
Now, American, turn the right way and I'll give you a pretty present.
Still to come, is there still room on the plane to Guyana? And love, soft as an easy chair.
Whether you prefer post-industrial vampire trance music or neo-gothic nerdcore speed thrash, Royal Records is the record store for you. Royal Records has albums and cassettes from many of your favorite artists, including The Letterman, The Righteous Brothers, The Insane Clown Posse, The Slipknots, and The Nine Inch Nails. No matter your taste, you'll find the records and tapes you love at Royal Records, Main Street, downtown. Open weekdays from 10 to 4.
Chris Christie. Dear Superman. So, does the S stand for Superman? Or something else in English? Or is it just a coincidence that the thing on your chest looks like an S and that people call you Superman? Sincerely, name withheld. And now here's Moose Weintraub with a Sports Half Minute.
Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute. It's a whole half minute of sports. 30 seconds of sports. Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
This is your Sports Half Minute. I'm Moose Weintraub. Nationwide sporting goods chain The Sports Authority has filed for Oh, really? This is what we're pulling for stories now? Really? You guys are terrible. You know that? Terrible. God.
Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
Thanks, Moose. Always a great report from Moose. Sarah Palin, as you may have heard, just keeps on crazy-ing. Now, to hear Palin rhetoric about her marriaging, you'd think that it was all hopey-changey in the Palin household. But Sarah seems to have set her priorities in a different way. Rather than being at her loving husband's side following his snowmobile accident, snow machine, she decided that her time would be better spent stumping for Donald Trump in Tampa, Florida. There's so much swirling, churning crazy in that last paragraph, I have to sit down. I am sitting down. This is not good. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Okay, it's probably not a stroke. Palin has abandoned her stricken husband in an Alaskan ICU to tell Trump supporters how awesome Trump is, which, I mean, duh. The only people allowed into a Trump rally are rabid supporters, so that's necessary. And it's not like Palin lends any credibility to Trump. She's a former beauty pageant runner-up, and he's a spoiled brat kid of a slumlord. And how ironic it is that Sarah would leave Todd to recover or die trying, which is a basic idea behind natural selection, the engine of Darwinian evolution, which Sarah Palin denies is a real thing. In case you were wondering, Sarah Palin is a person I have no use for. And finally, and I do mean finally, we all saw this coming, didn't we? Just when you thought it was safe to move to Niagara Falls, New York, it's not. Really, it may never be. Just like the residents of Amity Island need to just accept that it's the shark capital of the world, Niagara Falls, New York, is going to have to face it that it's full of toxic waste. If only Robert Palmer were still alive, I'm sure he could have immortalized that sentiment in a song. But I digress. Vasha Krause, who in 1981 left her home in the infamous Love Canal neighborhood of Niagara Falls and had relocated to a neighborhood just across the town line in North Tonawanda, New York. Everything was idyllic as it could have been until people started keeping track of who got cancer and where they lived. And then they discovered the neighborhood backs up to a toxic waste dump. And the waste? It came from Love Canal. So it's like Aaron Brockovich meets Poltergeist 2. No! Don't open the door! Oh! I suppose you're gonna go in now. No, don't! Don't go in! Ah! It's hard for me to be sure, but as a rule of thumb, I'm going with don't buy residential real estate in New York. You know, just to be safe. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsUndies. If you see news that shouldn't be news, you can submit your story tips online at newsundies.com or on Twitter with the hashtag NUSTip. NewsUndies is a weekly show. We'll be back on Friday, March 25th with fresh undies. If you like this video, please like this video. If you like the show, please spread the word. Got a question, comment, or suggestion? Leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, circle us on Google+, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, ignore us on MySpace, tell your friends, and buy NewsUndies Kitsch at newsundies.com. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at NewsUndies, until next time, I'm Paul Torville. After that, I might be endorsing Donald Trump in the hope that he will appreciate it and say something nice about me. He won't. Either. He won't do either. I think he's just like a jerk. I think that might be... I think in the DSM-7... Is it 7 that's coming up? Yeah, jerk. It's going to be a diagnosable condition. Donald Trump is patient 0. Hooray!
I just want to tell you good luck. We're all counting on you.